Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Today's guest, we have PartyBear from PartyBear team, and we're excited to talk about Buzzies and all types of topics with him. Usually we start the week off with what happened in the last week in the Futureverse ecosystem. And I think one of the most notable things is the start of the Year of the Rabbit, as the Lunar New Year occurred, I guess depending on where you are in the world, 2 days ago or something around that. And a FLUF World tweet read that they're celebrating it by launching a special scene and sound that can be claimed on the Root network for FLUF and PartyBear holders. And then to claim yours, bridge your eligible assets to the Root network and swap out your scene and sound within the given time window. And then successful claimers will also receive a red packet reward with more details to come. So I think we can expect sometime in the somewhat near to mid future to be able to start to bridge some of our assets to the Root network. Sam, what you think about that?
Yeah, lots of major events coming up, so stoked to see the Root network go live and get the bridging going. A lot of major events I feel like are getting closer, so it's very exciting. And I thought the scene and sound were really awesome, so excited to hopefully get one of those, or both of them rather. But yeah, I think we'll still probably see TNL bridge first, I believe. And then we'll bridge over some more assets and get some rewards. Sounds like there will be some red packets involved. So I guess we'll have to see what that means.
These backgrounds have 2 golden Flufflet statues. How cute is that?
Yeah, I think that's actually the first time we've seen what might be a golden Flufflet. So.
Oh no, that was in the trailer too.
Oh yeah,
and,
yeah. It was.
And then there's like maybe some type of golden blimp, or I don't know. Not a golden blimp, a fluff blimp. I don't know exactly. It's way up in the sky. Anyway, on top of that, there's also an upcoming ASM AMA on, well, I'll give the Eastern time. It is 23 hours from now. And you can access that. It's going to be in Discord, I believe, in 23 hours, 6 p.m. Eastern time.
Yeah, looking forward to that as well. I'll go ahead and pin that kind of stuff up to the top so everybody's got some current events up there. But I know we've only got Dylan for, I think, 30 minutes, so...
let's get into it then.
Let's jump into it.
So Dylan, tell us about yourself, how you came to join the FLUF World and Futureverse team, and what your role is over there.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me. This is an exciting time for me, so appreciate it. Really grateful to be a part of this community and to be able to create content for it, especially. I don't know how far you want me to go back, but I grew up here in Los Angeles. I'll give you the quick abridged version. My dad was a writer. I grew up literally on the Paramount lot. That's where I went to school, preschool. And then I went to San Francisco after college and got really deeply involved in tech and venture capital, but always knew I wanted to come back and be involved in entertainment. Animation for me is kind of the convergence of both my interests of technology and entertainment. It's literally computers telling stories for the most part. So I found myself at CAA, where I worked directly with writers and directors, and then eventually started my own production company with a focus on animation. And our whole thing was we wanted to go direct to audience and tell stories directly online on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And then eventually where NFTs gave us an opportunity to create a business model around that. So we launched PartyBear as our first kind of NFT collection. And I immediately found FLUF World and knew that PartyBear fits.
You cut off
Animation studio for FLUF World. And now I kind of act as, head of content for non-fungible labs, and we'll be, kind of doing something similar at Futureverse as well.
Awesome. Were you involved in the trailer that came out a month ago or so?
Yeah, no, I was involved from the very first script to the final render. Kind of directed it, oversaw it.
Can you tell us
worked with a very large team.
Can you tell us about the process a bit?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess the process started with an idea, and that idea was, directly from Aaron, who wanted to showcase the Futureverse and wanted to, show people what we've been talking about, show people what the land looked like, what the characters looked like inside of it, but also give you a feeling and a vibe of it. Right around that time, Aaron and Charo were working on the manifesto, what Futureverse is going to be, what the Root Network's going to be, what Third Kingdom's going to be. And we quickly realized, all right, there's enough to really show here in a trailer. So we took that manifesto, created a script for it, and then really started to, from there, you take a script and then you start basically putting pen to paper and storyboarding. And you're essentially doing 2D animation. You're doing quick thumbnails, just drawing stuff. And that creates, the basis of your animation, the foundation. It's what we call a storyboard. And then from there, you kind of plan out the entire production process, start building the models, the rigs, the textures, and all assets you need. So the entire process is one of the fastest I've ever worked, probably from beginning to end, 3 months for that entire thing, which normally would take probably closer to a year. But yeah, I can dive into any specific part of the process you're interested in, but it was a fun ride for sure.
Awesome. I love the idea of including community members' voices in it. Was that like a last minute decision, or how did that come about?
Yeah, it was like kind of in the 9th inning, not too last minute, but we know when we saw the manifesto, we couldn't find a name in a voice that really felt right. Your head immediately goes to the Morgan Freemans of the world, but that just didn't really make sense for Futureverse and what we stand for. And everything we do, we want to involve our community in, and we want to build creation tools for the community. So it was just such a perfect example to kind of show what we meant by that. And so that was really fun. We were worried about it at first because you want to have a narrative through line. You don't want it to feel messy. But luckily, we have so many community members with good voices and good mics. So it worked out well.
That's awesome. It was really good. You did an amazing job. How much of the work was done by full-time Futureverse employees versus contract work?
Yeah, good question. And it's kind of this is kind of emblematic of most animation. I'd say about 80% was done in-house. Really, we did the entire thing. We did, all the writing, all the scripting, all the storyboards in-house. So then you have your final product of what you want the animation to look like. And I think, maybe we'll even share that storyboard so you can see what the storyboard and animatic look like, because it's essentially a 2D version of the final trailer. But then once you're at that point, now it's gonna take a village, because we had 14 different scenes, 28 characters, all different clothes and furs and textures. The grooming of all the fur was done in-house, because that's something that we care a lot about, making sure our characters' fur and groom looks good and realistic. But eventually, once you move into animation and rigging of the characters, that's when we knew we'd need extra help. So we started, and there's, this is part of what's so awesome about being a remote global culture. We can reach into every area of the world to find talented animators. I think we probably had 4 different continents represented, and we had to bring in a lot of people for, 2-3 month contracts in order to hit our ambitious deadline.
Awesome. And what's next for all the staff that were spending their time on that animation? Can we expect more animations, or maybe they're working on some parallel similar type of work?
Yeah, so I'd say a good chunk of it, have started working on various collections like Buzzies and Goblins, to start kind of making those characters and collections look as good as they can be, because they're all going to come with certain animations and unique animations too. So part of our team have started working on individual collections and assets. Part of the team has started working on more of the real-time collections and in-game animations and emotes and that sort of stuff. But then, we are developing out our content strategy right now, which is something I'm really excited about, obviously. And it's, how do we tell our story moving forward? Do we want to do it through short form? Do we want to develop long form? How do we involve our community to get the best ideas and really build a world together? So, we're still brainstorming, as we always will be in this world, but at the same time, we're running experiments and making decisions right now. So, we're going to be creating a lot of content this year. What format and distribution method that happens in is kind of still TBD.
Awesome. I want to invite anyone from the audience that has any questions for Dylan up. We only have him for another 17 minutes or so. So if you have any questions for him, I would recommend doing so. Sam, did you want to ask a question?
Yeah. What kind of community do you think the community wants, and what type, outside of FLUF World, do you think that people are kind of most interested in, and what form, short form, long form, that kind of stuff, in terms of either animations or what else? And I'd also like to jump into the comic that was posted in kind of the Buzzies splash page, because I thought that was really cool. But yeah, we can start wherever you'd like.
Yeah, I'd love to hear from the community about what kind of stuff you guys want to see and what stuff that you enjoy the most. I'm literally here to be a listener too and take notes. So I'd love to hear from you guys and girls. What did you like the most? What are you watching in your life right now? Where does FLUF World, fill that hole of content and escapism for you? Because that can help us, devise our content strategy. So let me know how I can hear from you about that. Happy to share what I'm watching and reading too. On the comic side, that's I'm glad you guys like that. It's a good question too. I've always been such a fan of graphic novels. Comics never really resonated with me growing up too much. I read a lot of novels, watched a lot of TV, but comics, for some reason, were a generation before, and I kind of just never fell into them. But then we've seen a lot of innovation over the last couple of years, and mobile comics with what Webtoon's doing. Korea and Asian culture have already adapted and really started creating a lot of content, consuming a lot of content on their mobile phone. That, I wouldn't call it a comic. I wouldn't call it a graphic novel. but it's like an interactive visual. And I'm very interested in that format and exploring that format more. So we will definitely be doing more stuff in that world.
Awesome. I look forward to that. I wanted to get your take on a piece of NFT news that hit the wire yesterday, which was Doodle's acquisition of Golden Wolf, which is the studio behind, what is it, Ren and Stimpy, I think?
Yeah. I don't know what they're known for. I should look into that. I'm curious what they've done, because I did see that acquisition and I was excited about it. I think, look, at the heart of every NFT, at the heart of a lot of NFT collections, especially like Doodles, there's an animated IP, and it's very important you bring it to life. People want to see it move, talk, dance, and connect. We can relate to animated characters a lot better than we think we can. Some people relate to animated characters even better than humans. So animation studios right now are very valuable and capable, because they're going to be bringing a lot of this to life. The problem, and probably why Doodles did this after, a couple years of maybe doing it internally, is that animation is a very niche skill. You have to be experienced. You have to really know what you're doing. It could get really expensive and move really slow if you don't know what you're doing. So I think we're going to see more companies like that acquiring studios or doing licensing deals with the big studios like Skydance Animation, Illumination, and those types. Because also those animation studios are always looking for new IP and audiences. Every animation studio's dream is to work on original IP. Few have been able to create their own original IP and work on that for an entire lifetime, kind of like what Pixar's done. And because of communities like you, we've been able to do that. NFT collections are very lucky that people say, hey, you know what? There's something here and I want to invest more into that and I want to learn more about it. So we get to work on original IP because of you guys. And I think more animation studios are going to try and get into the game as well.
Yeah, I think people will really enjoy like short form and long form content of like animation. I guess it kind of depends on like how engaging it is, and like if it tells a good story and all that, it kind of adds to the overall like lore, and kind of adds to the story and kind of maybe leaves like cliffhangers and stuff like that. So I'm not the best storyteller myself, but I've always found it interesting how people tell stories and just ways that people relate to them. So it's been cool seeing the different types of content that's come out from NFL and all the Futureverse, to be honest. So looking forward to seeing more. I know we've got the road tripping winners picked, so looking forward to part 2 of that for sure.
Yeah, Ox Marty and Crabman. We got a lot of good submissions, and that was a really fun project for us. We had no idea what to expect, but we got a lot of good ideas. And ultimately what we realized, which is very indicative of what happens in Hollywood and what happens in storytelling in general, is that you take a piece of idea here, you take a piece of idea here, you take something here, you add this person's taste, you combine that into a very delicious storytelling soup. And that's what we kind of noticed coming in, that standalone, everything kind of felt a little bit off, but once we started combining people's ideas, it really worked well. And Crabman and Ox Marty both had such good ideas. So we're going to bring them in now for developing, scripting, and storyboarding that second episode and doing more content together. So that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it's all about, right? It's like community involvement and just, well, not like what it's all about, but just like, I think just involving community at a higher level and, engaging like that, I think is really awesome. So cool to see the team doing that.
Totally. Another small example is, seeing how many people have started to play with those AR filters and creating animations and getting creative with that. That's definitely a top priority for me this year, is figuring out ways to easier and more accessible community to create content alongside us. And, it could be AR filters, it could be software, it could be editing, but there's a ton of different ways and a lot of opportunity to explore ways to co-create.
Yeah, I've been enjoying seeing what people have been putting out with the Seekers recently with some of the 3D animation submissions, and just providing people the tools and like know-how to kind of get started with some of our like live streams and stuff with Moritz, and just, you know, giving people a touch point so that they can learn more and, you know, feel like they have some tools in their belt to create content, because I know I'm sure not good at it, so it's cool getting to learn some more.
Speaking of creating content by the masses, some AI tools, artificial intelligence tools, have become better or have surfaced over the past several months, year, and it's really probably going to have a major effect on the creator economy. How does that affect, you know, someone like you who's running an animation setup?
Yeah, it's definitely top of mind right now, and the tools that we're seeing come out are so amazing and happening so much faster than anyone anticipated. I think a lot of people thought that AI would really come for more blue collar work and rote tasks, menial tasks, but we're seeing computers are starting to become creative, which is super interesting and changes a lot. I think what we're seeing today is computers empowering the creator, really helping the creator to overcome writer's block, overcome, you know, a visual block that they're not quite understanding, and they can kind of collaborate with a computer to visualize or articulate an idea that's in their head and they need to wrestle out. So that's really exciting. I think we're going to be at that phase for a little while now, because I don't think, and I haven't seen anything yet, where computers are at the point where they could really entertain an audience by themselves. I think audiences crave unique and engaging and interactive experiences that almost feel unexpected, which is kind of the antithesis of AI, because AI is trained off previous data now, but we're seeing that change quickly because AI is starting to, you know, you can almost expect the unexpected from some of these new models. So we're at this phase of like generalized AI right now, and we're going to see a lot of people building specific niche use cases. They're going to get really creative. But ultimately, you know, I think creators will adapt like they've always adapted. And the best creatives, the best artists will find a way to use this AI to make their stories better. And if not better in quality, maybe faster by means of creation, or cheaper. You know, I think, you know, take a film like Avatar that costed $200 million to produce. I think in 5 to 10 years from now, you're looking at making something like that at an order of magnitude less, for around $20 million. And that'll put companies like ours in a really good position where we can make large scale, really quality content at a lower price point than before. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I think it's really going to empower people to not only accelerate, but like kind of perfect a lot of things over time as it evolves with AI. And really just empower people to have the tools that, you know, they didn't have before. Kind of a weird example, but one of my friends does a lot of like SQL scripting, and for his job, like, I mean, ChatGPT has absolutely made his job 10 times easier. He'll feed in like scripts into it that will basically just spit out code answers that he can just copy and paste, and that's the script that he needed. And whenever it like hits the limit, you just hit, you know, print more code, and it'll finish the code.
So if you're talking, I don't think I can hear you.
Oh shoot.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Well, we only have a few more minutes, so I don't think we'll have time to fix Somnium's mic. But I will say, with only a few more minutes to talk to you, if anyone in the audience has a question, now's definitely the time where you're not going to have that opportunity. And also, we have not really mentioned Buzzies yet. And I think our audience wants to know more about Buzzies, or a recap of what has happened so far with Buzzies and what we can expect soon. So any How has the Buzzies as a process gone so far, and how do you see it moving forward over the next weeks?
It's gone really well, and I think we've talked a little bit about this, so I won't belabor it too much, but Buzzies became, everything we do, we try and do better than the last, and we're always trying to innovate and find new ways to do things. So Buzzies quickly became a really ambitious collection. It's one of our highest quality visual fidelity projects. If you look at the eyes, you look at the legs, you look at the fur, you're going to start seeing things that are going to blow your mind. And this is just the first family that's been revealed. It's a really great environment. Everything's built in game engine, but I've started to see some renders from the upcoming families, and they're pretty mind-blowing. It's some of the best quality 3D work I've seen. So I'm excited about that, and we've started really exploring their animation profile and feeling out how do they move, and every family moves differently, interacts differently, and there's so much personality in these creatures even before you even hear the noise, the sound they make. Whether or not they talk, I'll leave that a mystery. But it's very exciting. It's one of my favorite collections and character IPs I've ever worked on.
How difficult and time consuming is it to do quality control for this collection?
Oh man, QA is a bitch. It's tough for sure. Because you're not just QAing a static image. You're QAing a character or an environment, how the character is perceived in the environment, the character from every angle. We really want to make this as special and kind of flawless as possible for the community. So it takes time, but that being said, we have some really, really brilliant technical artists on the team that are able to create pipelines and workflows that can kind of ensure limited imperfections. So I've been really impressed by that. And artistry has become such a technical discipline now because of the difficulties like that.
One thing that I've noticed, and I'm not saying this is fact, so it's more of a question, is a lot of the colors on the Buzzies that we've seen so far has been similar, but the main difference is the way those colors are arranged. They're in different patterns and different amounts of each color. Is that accurate? Am I noticing that correctly?
Yeah, I think you are noticing that correctly. Everything, how unique is still TBD, but everything's incredibly unique from each other. This family is, there's a reason it came out first. It kind of required the least amount of QA. But the stuff that you'll see next is going to be even more unique, even more rarities, and even more kind of intricate designs. So just keep looking out for, and keep your eye finely tuned.
What does irradiated, what does the word irradiated mean to you, and what should we expect?
That's a good question. Yeah, because I wasn't involved. There's a lore behind every family, and we'll start revealing that soon. We want first people to see it and say, okay, this is kind of the feeling I get from it. This is the vibe I get from it. But then we'll really start showing you, how it became like that, why it looks like that, and there's a reason for everything. Irradiated, it means exposed to radiation. So where that radiation came from and how they came to look the way they look, I can't say too much about that now, but there's an exciting backstory there.
Well, okay, that's exciting, and I'm looking forward to it. Now that we're at the end of our time, is there anything?
Max.
Yeah.
Real quick, ask him about the the fly-through animation of the different worlds, just the creation of that.
Oh, we wanted to quickly ask you about the fly-through animation of the Buzzies going through the different worlds.
Oh, yeah, that was, I think that's just what differentiates a really dynamic 3D environment from just a static 2D one. We wanted to show you guys that these will be environments that you can ultimately be inside of. Every detail, every angle, every pixel has been thought out and carefully chosen. So the fly through was a really fun way to just take you through that and kind of break that 2D pain that we're constantly on in our phones and our computers.
Very cool. And now, as we're out of time, is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to cover?
No, drop me a note, send me a DM. If, I'm really curious to see what content everyone wants to see more of, what people like, where people want their FLUF World content and their Futureverse content. So, my DMs are always open. Come and let me know. I'm excited to talk to more of you. So I appreciate you guys hosting me and taking the time to listen about our exciting plans.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on. And we look forward to the irradiated buzzies and the rest of the content and excitement for the future. Thank you. Let's give some heart emojis.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Dylan. Have a good one, even though you can't hear me.
Take care, team.
Thank you. So audience, no one has really come up yet, which is kind of not how our show is supposed to work. So I guess in the meantime, Sam, we can talk about, well, what should we talk about? I really hope people come up.
Oh, we've got the avatar scan pinned to the top there. There's a competition running for people to use different snap lenses. I believe Blockchain Bunny and Big Hino have been working hard on that. So,
and what are two of the options? Include Somnium's FLUF, which is not currently in his profile picture because he's got a Futureverse logo.
It's in there. He's on the left.
Wait, I gotta look closer. Oh wow. Okay, I see. And mine, of course. And those are two of, I think there's at least 30 or more between FLUFs and PartyBears, and there's some other avatars. And the competition is such that you download Snapchat if you don't have it, and once you do have, most people probably do have Snapchat, and you search for their filters, and it's all on their website with the more information that is pinned to the Twitter. And so you use the filters to create a video, and you use the hashtag when you post your video called Snap to the Futureverse. I think they want every video to be less than a minute, which that's pretty simple, right? And then you tag them with the Snap to the Futureverse tagline, and you could be in it to win a PartyBear as the prize for someone that posts a video and goes through the steps. So that's a pretty cool competition, and it's also great to get more content out to show off our assets. I know for like the longest time, FLUF World took quite a while to get the 3D files to us, longer than was expected, but now we've had them for a while, and some community members have been creating great content, but a lot of that content has been such that it's not so easy to do because, most people don't know how to do 3D type of work. But because of the work of Big Hino and Blockchain Bunny and others, now we have all these filters available for us where there's zero technical expertise required at all. All you gotta do is search for the filter and use it and post it. So I hope a lot of us take advantage of that.
Yeah, it's been awesome seeing, especially like the site being spun up so that you can just go straight to the URL and like just literally click the Snapchat logo. It'll take you straight to that filter, and there you go. I've really enjoyed seeing the different like animations they've enabled on it, like the ears waving and the eyes blinking, the mouth moving. So they've done a really great job really bringing them to life and making them look clean. So hats off to them, and everybody be sure to enter the competition.
Also, whatever technology they're using, they're able to do it quite fast, because I had a little bit of a funny interaction with Blockchain Bunny on Discord DMs where I was sending my usual K-pop gifts and he was putting my avatar rabbit head on it. It was pretty funny for me. Pufferfish, what's going on?
Hey, good evening, everybody. How you guys doing?
Oh, it's a great day to have a great day. We missed you last week.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was out with the family at a dinner. I thought I was gonna make it in time. I got home at like 8:20 or something. I'm like, I can't come in the last second. So,
Well,
yeah, I apologize. Doing some.
we're definitely looking forward to this week's top 5.
Cool. Well, I'll get into it then. Good evening, everybody. This week's segment is sponsored by Merck Pfizer, now introducing their new line of diet COVID vaccines. All the same side effects you know and love, now with half the calories. Use promo code PUFFER at checkout. Tonight's top 5 list is the top 5 rarest seeker traits. Now, we all know seekers have a lot of traits. In fact, there are so many, it's possible you might not have heard of some of these yet. So let's get into it. The number 5 rarest seeker trait is a didgeridoo. Number 4 is the nail clippers. Number 3, figgy pudding backpack. Number 2, the BitConnect necklace. And the number 1 rarest seeker trait, butt plug. That's my
I'm gonna have to go out on a limb and say that those are not any secret traits, just FYI, people. So don't go looking for those traits.
That's real. I gotta catch my boat. Those are real secret traits. Hold on, let me give the guy my ticket. I'm still here.
Are you hopping on a steamboat right now? It's got close
Yeah,
to horn
yeah.
there.
Yeah, I'm in Biloxi. I just flew out here. I actually saw Aaron McDonald on the flight, but I didn't want to go back to coach and talk to him. I'm about to go gambling on a steamboat.
It's a classic activity.
You mean a riverboat, bro? Jesus, Puffer. Well, hey, that was pretty good. A little raunchy, but pretty good. Well, Puffer, I gotta ask, what's your favorite secret trait?
Ooh,
It's an actual trait.
man, I don't want to say. You guys are gonna buy it if I say. I don't want you sniping me.
That's a good point.
Well,
I'll front you all day. Just kidding.
my favorite seeker trait is the unknown egg because it intrigues me. Because what's that egg? It's unknown.
Does it have a dragon inside?
Pretty sure there's like a dinosaur or a dragon, or that's why I want to buy it. It looks like a Game of Thrones egg, right?
There's not a lot of them though.
Pretty much.
It's a rare one, right?
It's 87, so it's pretty much confirmed you're getting a dragon if you buy that.
Oh wow. Unknown egg. Wow, there aren't any for sale.
No, there were a few the other day. Somebody had one at like 0.9 on Blur, and yeah, I don't think any of them sold. There were like 2 or 3 listed over the last couple of weeks, but I couldn't snag one at a steal.
Wow, this is an interesting trait. I haven't really looked into this one. Well, thank you again, Pufferfish. And I was wondering, do we have a preview for what we can expect in future weeks? You definitely have to be doing a lot of brainstorming.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to keep them topical. So if something happens, like maybe we'll have a Valentine's Day one as Valentine's approaches. Try to keep them with the times.
I saw you looped in a pudding reference.
Yeah, the figgy pudding backpack. I think the floor is like 2 ETH on those. It's pretty rare.
Actually, I think it's Infinity ETH.
There's some good backpacks out there, man. There's like I don't know, several puddings. You just have to look, man. You have to search hard enough.
Honestly, I hope that more audience members come to the stage so we don't have to resort to listing types of pudding.
I want to hear from Blockchain Bunny about the Snapchat filters.
I wonder if he is
It's probably pretty late.
sleeping just in the app, but not actually awake. Could be.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I've been enjoying using the filters though. It's been cool making some cool videos and just making the fluff come to life.
Do you only use the filter of your fluff?
I've messed around with some other people's, but I haven't like posted them on social media per se of other people's.
There are a number of videos going around of my fluff, but one of the things that was interesting to me in some of the videos, like I show up on different faces throughout the video.
Yeah, like the ones of Blockchain Bunny, like recording
The
a movie
one
or
from
something.
Seinfeld, I think I was 3 out of the 4 characters. I was confused.
Yeah, those have been really funny.
Let's welcome Tybo to the stage. Hi, Tybo.
Hi, Tybo.
Hi. Hi, guys.
Well, hello there.
That sounds like a fake Tybo. This we need to authenticate this.
Tybo, can you please sign this wallet transaction to authenticate that it's the real you? I promise it's not malicious.
I don't trust you, Max. Are we going to talk about the red envelope?
Yeah, what do you think's in that, Tybo?
Well, if you look in the law of Chinese mythology, apparently it is good luck and money. And what is crypto money? So my guess it's got something to do with root without them saying it's root.
So it does say red packet. I don't know where you got envelope, because maybe you're thinking it's full of money, like comes in an envelope.
Well, a red packet, a red envelope, it's the same thing, I think. Well, it's referring to the same thing. It's like, it looks like an envelope, you open it up, there's money that comes out. It's good luck.
Check
All right,
good money.
But I wanted to ask, are we thinking we're going to have to transfer all of our fluffs over or only one? And with each fluff that we transfer over or each PartyBear that we transfer over, does that also mean we get a scene and sound for each one? What's our thoughts?
I think it's probably one per wallet, but I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't. No idea. I don't think they want like a ton of them, but they probably also want people to like that have the assets that are eligible to get them. So not sure.
I feel like 19,600 or whatever amount of fluffs plus PartyBears. If there was that much of that background, it would be kind of silly.
Yeah, I think that might be the biggest one ever, wouldn't it?
Well,
It sounds like it's going to be native on root as well. And we have to swap we're going to go over to the root network, we're going to swap. We're going to try some swapping. So does that mean we're going to need some gas when we migrate over?
well, it is bring your own gas network, so yeah, I guess it's not as big of a deal as it would be on other networks.
Maybe Jeff might have some insight if he's able to talk. I know I'm just throwing out a bone here, Jeff, but if you are listening and you can talk about, are we going to bring our own gas over? What's that look like? Otherwise, it's all good. You can keep listening.
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely exciting to see how this transition to the root network will go, how involved the community will be, what type of information will become available and when. Definitely one of the parts of this ecosystem that I'm most excited about. But I do think that things will take time. It makes sense to, like, they're already testing. There have already been NFTs on the root network just from testing, but it hasn't been tested at scale with community involvement yet. So I'm guessing that the first step would be a collection that isn't as valuable as fluffs per se, to test test it, make sure it works, work out any kinks, have a review of how.
Do you think we'll be using the same ETH wallet when we're bridging over?
Well, another thing that we got to consider is that part of the white paper it includes references to digital identities. And you know how like a lot of people have several different wallets on Ethereum? And it's impossible to tell that those wallets are it's not impossible. You could do forensic analysis, but it's hard to tell, which wallets are, run by X people or X companies. But on the root network, things could be a little bit different. So when you attach a digital identity to a wallet and you have maybe a little bit different security measures around it, things could be different than what we're used to. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out and what it looks like.
Yeah, they did say there was more information to come, so I guess we'll have to wait and see. But from my experience with an EVM compatible chain, and for the sake of like frictionless bridging, we most likely will use, I'm not saying this is actually factual, but I could see them using their own server to connect through MetaMask, just like when you connect to Polygon or you connect to Arbitrum. You add in the server so your MetaMask can connect to it. But that's not saying that's exactly how it's going to work out. It could be something a bit more nuanced, where it's you got to create a new wallet, which I think that's what they were talking about. Is like the root network is live and ready. There's just like a lot of like the UI on the other side. Maybe a native root wallet needs to be up and ready. Maybe there's a website that we will go to that we need a bridge from that needs to be ironed out and looks nice.
I don't subscribe to the theory of using MetaMask, to be honest. I think a lot of what Aaron has talked about and team has talked about is making this a Web3 experience that doesn't seem like the Web3 experiences that we're used to, which MetaMask isn't that.
I'm not saying only MetaMask. I'm just saying for ETH users.
I don't think any of the wallets are that. I think, well, maybe it's what I'm hoping for versus maybe, I don't know how much of it is biased, but I think I would expect a wallet that is made in-house, that has more features and is able to do more and is less, like for example, for what you're talking about, for setting up like an Arbitrum wallet or a Polygon wallet or Optimism or any of these other chains, and that work kind of as some of them are layer 2s and some of them are side chains and some of them might be kind of in a layer 1 disguising as a side chain. But like none of setting up that process is the type of user experience that someone that is not native to Web3 would find to be something that they're used to. So I don't expect any of that.
Yeah, I agree with. I think it's going to be both. Is what I'm trying to say. That most new users won't touch MetaMask, but people that are bridging over might. But I'm not saying it will. I'm just speculating.
Yeah, I'll speculate the opposite, and we'll see what happens. Let's talk to Mo Meta Music, there's been a name change. It's Mo Meta Media.
I think it's just Mo Meta now. Hey, I've got a really dodgy headset on that the dog's half chewed. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we still hear your amazing silky voice, and we still love it.
Oh,
I can still half hear you.
All right. I really thought we'd be doing the TNL transfer first. I thought part of the gamification was to get the next legends out of our wallets over onto the Root network. Plus, you're a bit of a lower valued asset at this point. I thought that might be a safer transition. Any thoughts?
I feel like there'll be two separate events.
Sorry.
Yes.
Like you'll have TNL bridge,
just to
and we'll have multiple bridging events. There will be a bunch of different challenges. So I feel like TNL will probably come first, and then the bridging for Yoder, but like different assets probably, right?
Now, it very much does say assets. It doesn't just say party bears and fluff. Then you, Som, also just said assets moving over. Do you think we might see the silos, should we say hub, foundry, whatever it's going to be called, operational? So potentially scene swaps could happen if potentially this bridging over to the Root network happens after the sacrifice. Som, give me something. A lot of people only have seekers at this stage, don't have those Genesis, Party Bear, or Fluffs. Are they included?
I mean, there will be bridging for seekers, obviously. I mean, all assets eventually will bridge, right? That's kind of the goal. Is that what you're asking, or you mean like swapping specifically?
Silo is going to work on the Root network, so.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I was wondering if they're going to be able to have that scene swap ability before this event
Not
happens.
until after. It'll be after.
For anyone
that
thinks
60,000 scenes too many.
For anyone thinks that they can change their void background or anything like that before the goblin sacrifice, that's not the timeline, unfortunately. So there will be no scene swapping before the sacrifice. And to be honest, it doesn't give a date as to when you can expect the red envelope or when you can expect this scene or when you can expect bridging. And I do anticipate this will be a methodical, slow process that is step by step, that is accompanied behind the scenes with a lot of, error checking, potentially, verification that things work. Lots of people looking at how the processes work and making sure that the security is down pat. The worst possible scenario that can happen is security breakdowns. And this team will not sacrifice security for speed of delivery. We've seen that time and time again, and we can expect the team will focus on security, on quality, on delivery, all of those things way ahead of speed. So anyone that's expecting things to go quickly with us, I don't know where you've been or what you've been looking at, but that's just not how things go around here. Things will be methodical, they will be slow, they will be measured, and they will be done correctly. And if that doesn't happen, that is way worse than things going slow.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. Security first. Go ahead, Mo.
I just wanted to add, I'm just looking at the top of the screen, pinned tweet up there. Like last week, I did a filter and Snoop Dogg retweeted it. And I got like 150,000 views. And now this week, if I was to have done that, I could possibly get a Party Bear. Once again, I've peaked too early. No good.
That's a lot of views.
Yeah, Snoop Dogg knows some guys. So, yeah, he got a few views. He's got 20 million followers. So 150,000 views is pretty good for my little Mo Meta rabbit. But I think it's because I used his wine bottle. I incorporated his wine, and Snoop just loves his brand, right? So by bringing his brand into my filter and then putting that filter onto the wine bottle, yeah, no, he's a sucker for that sort of stuff. He was always going to go for
it. Him or whoever is running his account?
Let's just say there might have been a little bit of a helping hand behind the scenes on our end that might have just got it over the line without naming names.
Sounds good. So we're coming up on...
Sorry, Matt.
Go ahead, Tybo.
Someone just posted in the FLUF Discord talking about there will be compatibility for MetaMask for when we bridge. They have it in the GitHub for staking here. That what I see there is, of course, there needs to be compatibility with MetaMask because we have to connect that MetaMask to the bridge. But I'm wondering if the compatibility will go further than that onto the root network. But it still doesn't necessarily say that we're going to have the MetaMask on the other side. Just thought I would add that as in the conversation.
I personally, I'd like to see both. I mean, I'd like to have it an additional network, like, Polygon, Metis, Evmos, whatever, like in my wallet. But I'd also like to see something fun, like a end user interface, like you're playing with a Seeker or something when you're looking at your money. Like, I'd like that too. The only thing I can say right now, SensNet, which I have not used, I believe it's a Chrome extension and it's like a proprietary wallet for Sens only or something, is what they have at the moment, if that helps at all, which I have not used the wallet.
I have downloaded it, but I have not gone so far as to open it.
I'd like it. I'm not a fan of any of the exchanges where you can acquire it, but I would like it at this price point, just some, even if just a couple $100,
I know you're a big fan of the exchange where they sell that.
Yeah, I'd rather not get into that. I'm not a fan of one of those exchanges. Some of the other ones, they all sound the same. They sound like, it's in the back of some flea market that's on fire, and there's a server in a flooded basement, and someone's mom's gonna unplug it, and that's it. There's one server. That's the whole exchange. I don't trust them. Sorry. They always have a hack. Like 2018, when the market crashed. Oh, sorry guys, we got hacked. We don't know what happened.
We're keeping it on topic. On topic. Thank you. We love you.
Oh, sorry, sir.
Okay. Do we have any more conversations to go? Because we're almost at the hour mark, and I feel like we're at a pretty good natural stopping point.
Well, I'm excited for what we got going on with Seekers and the upcoming events and what we've been working on behind the scenes. Just think it'd be really cool to see that come to fruition and really just start delivering that sort of stuff for the community. So just want to
because we have a date. We know late February something's happening. Hopefully not like February 47th. Like not that late. Like technically late.
I really don't think we can count that out though.
I would love to see some kind of dates mentioned for Buzzies.
Well,
something that like.
Here's my take on that. I asked him, what's the quality assurance process like? And he's like, it's a bitch. And earlier, Alex, the CEO of Non-Fungible Labs, indicated that they're not funneling staff from all over the place to do the quality assurance for Buzzies. So given those two pieces of information, I think it's fair to say that number one, quality assurance takes a long time, and number two, it is not all hands on deck process by any means. In fact, it is a relatively small team compared to the 300 plus employees working for Futureverse. A very small portion of them are working on Buzzy's quality assurance. So if it takes a long time, that is why. And it probably will take a long time because I don't think they want to divert attention to Buzzies from other vital areas of the business rollout.
That's fair. No, I can see all the arguments for that.
Yeah, I think the focus really needs to be, and they can focus on multiple things because they have 300 plus people, but the focus for most of the ASM team has to be on this FIFA World Cup game, and the rest of their energy has got to be spent on maintaining the existing aspects of their platform. And for a lot of other staff, like the Seekers team, they are focused on their deployment and moving into like the dashboard and root network, how switching to the root network affects, all kinds of things on their end. They have a lot of work, of course. And then the non-fungible labs team, we have components of that team that are the type of developers that are working on the root network and things around launching the root network. And then you have these individual or these smaller teams maybe of animators and managers of like process managers of that type of work, and they must be working on goblins, one team of them, another team of them working on buzzies, and another team working on who knows what. It's possible that some of these people are working on creating in-game environments, maybe thinking about building lore, gameplay, potentially the early stages of that, burrows, activations of all sorts. So there's just a lot of teams that are surely working on a lot of different things, and they just don't want to throw people that are spending their hours working on some of these tasks to do quality assurance for buzzies. I think in the past that is what they would have done, but I think the Futureverse ecosystem is growing to a point where it's a little bit beyond that, and it's no longer an all hands on deck type of approach to everything that they're doing, as in the past it probably would have been like, oh, we have this coming, we need to get this right, and then figure out what to do from then on. I think we're moving past that point where they can focus specific teams on specific tasks and try to not put all their resources into any one of the types of activations that they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, wow. You should work for Futureverse, Max. That's great. No, yeah, sure. I'm just coming from, I guess out of the 5 of us on the stage, I'm the degenist. So, from the people who trade higher volume, I guess, part of my bag is definitely collecting and long-term holding. But I also want to look at, okay, what's hot right now? Seekers, buzzies we just revealed. Okay, what's the next buzzy reveal? Like, just for me personally, like, I'm a person who pokes around Blur and OpenSea and all those. And
do you poke around KuCoin?
I have not looked into FLUF and all that stuff. I love KuCoin. In fact, I had a problem with them where I sent money to an expired wallet on an anonymous account, and they returned it to me within 2 hours. A substantial amount of money. I can just speak highly of
So
KuCoin.
You do like them more than a certain other. Okay, wait, time out. We're not going down this rabbit hole again.
But no, I haven't fully, researched FLUF and all that stuff. I know the next project was like Owlbirds or something. Moonbirds?
Yes, I tried swing trading the next 2 projects after FLUF World.
Right?
Yeah.
Did it work out?
So the first one was Moonbirds, and I was going to get a few of them, but I started with one, and then the price started moving before they even launched High Bird, I think it was High Bird token. So I ended up not getting a second one, and I just cashed out way before the top. But yeah, it was a modest profit. And then,
but it did have a crazy spree of sales. They got triggered.
Yeah, I don't know how much of that was KuCoin or the Fracton protocol, which is in partnership with KuCoin. But then the next one was High MFR, and that one wasn't very profitable, but I didn't lose money. Yeah. Anyway, what's going on right now is for most of these high coins and the NFTs behind them, they're in this protocol on Ethereum, and like a contract where you can redeem an NFT and you get a random NFT for, I think it's 1,003,000 of that high coin. So as an example for FLUF World, people can accumulate the 1,003,000 high FLUF coins, and they can then use that to redeem a random FLUF within the protocol. You don't get to choose which FLUF you get, but you do get one of the FLUFs that they have at random. And then I think depending on the price that you buy high FLUF, it can be the cheapest option. So what we're seeing right now is, as the prices fluctuate between the price of a floor FLUF, I guess, let's look at it in dollars, for example. Like, for example, if a floor FLUF is, $4,000, let's say, and if you can get one for cheaper than that from KuCoin, from the Fracton protocol, people are doing that. And then normally what we'll see is they'll list the FLUFs and try to have that arbitrage opportunity.
Well, they're leaving money on the table, in my opinion. First of all, they're not charging enough. It's like 0.3% for this. But what I would like to see is a marketplace, and I want to see those FLUFs, right? Like, what if one of them, I desire one of these FLUFs. I'll pay you 2%, 3%, right? I'll give you 1,030,000 high FLUFs. Let me pick out the FLUF I want. I realize that's more work to build a marketplace.
It is too late because it's in a contract that is set in stone, pretty much.
Right, but could you imagine that? Like, oh, let me see what's in the high FLUF vaults. And you could poke around and be like, oh, I really want this one FLUF. I used to own it, or whatever. You like that FLUF.
Yeah, but I think they're at random. If you like redeem it, 1 million tokens or whatever, I think you get a random one.
Time out. Isn't that what Blur or OpenSea is? You look at the FLUFs available and you get whatever one you want.
Right, but I'm saying high FLUF. They could mark it up. Whatever, charge 5%, whatever, in high FLUF coin. And
FTX does that. So it's like a slightly different protocol that does similar, where you can create a liquidity pool with NFT assets, and you purchase the coins that represent, and the coins represent your ability to redeem a FLUF within the pool. You just pay like a 5 to 15% fee, and you get to choose which FLUF you want out of the pool. But with Fracton, they've decided to just make it random, which is, in my opinion, a missed opportunity.
To be honest, the main difference between NFTX and Fracton is the amount of sketchiness associated with Fracton's really core business model, which is getting degens that use KuCoin to trade these coins around. Like, no one markets the equivalent coins on NFTX or MC20 to like try to get degens to buy and sell it. When people are buying that coin, they're doing it for a specific purpose, which is for the NFT. But KuCoin instead, a lot of the people that are buying and selling this are, doing stuff and not even knowing what it means, the NFT attached to it or anything. So,
but that's not their fault. That's just Telegram. That's just Telegram users.
It is their fault. They know what they're doing. Get out of here.
I'm just saying, degens are gonna degen.
It is absolutely their fault. Let's hear from...
Don't hate the player, hate the game is what you're saying.
No, I'm saying hate the player. Let's hear from Marklar.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be interesting once we all start bridging to Root and NFT liquidity goes to Root. I think in the context of high FLUF, there's probably going to be some arb there with Root and everything. But the thing that I'm more interested in and that I've been the most interested in for a long time is if we continue to price in ETH over there. Because I feel like what's going to happen initially is that we're all going to bridge. We're going to get our red packet, but then unless we bridge back, we're sort of stuck, unable to sell until Root starts to have more just native liquidity there as well. So I think there's two things that I'm interested in after we bridge is if we still continue to price in ETH or if we break a different way. And then I know that that XRP is coming in hot with like bootstrapping ecosystem liquidity, but what other tokens start showing up on there and what other launch partners there are that we might not know about. So those are my thoughts.
Absolutely. And one other important aspect is the ability to go back and forth. That is something that the team has talked about as being something that can occur on this network. And I think it's going to be ready. As soon as you can bridge, I think you can bridge back as well. I think they're not going to set it up where you can only go in one direction.
Yeah, I was in another ecosystem where it started on mainnet and they moved to Polygon, but their marketplace was a mess. So they did this thing with Rarible where you could bridge back to have it listed on mainnet and hopefully get access to mainnet liquidity. And it didn't go well in terms of what the overall goal was, but the ease of going back and forth was pretty easy. So other than at that time it was bull run, gas wasn't fun to pay to get it back to sell it, but the process itself wasn't hard. So I assume that it'll be the same here.
But there is an important question in here, which is, will I be able to sell Futureverse assets on the Root network right away? And if so, what will that look like? I don't think it's likely that like OpenSea, for example, will off the bat have Root integration. Or any of the other popular marketplaces. Is the team making a marketplace in-house? It is the marketplace potentially, something that can be part of like the actual network, like it can built in.
I don't know if it can. I don't know if it can be part of OpenSea based off how it. How with Ethereum you have smart contracts. So whenever we want to sell on OpenSea, we have to approve our NFT to use that smart contract.
Yeah, but OpenSea has Solana,
the smart. Yeah, but that also does the same thing. But the Root network has the smart contract embedded into the network itself. So it's not out. It's like part of the blockchain.
So you're saying you wouldn't expect OpenSea, or you wouldn't expect any marketplace, and all like the buying and selling would be like literally something that's built into the network, and there's no room for an outside marketplace.
There's going to be a website for us to like sell, but it will be all within the Root network itself. It won't be. You won't have to approve like a smart contract to sell. I think with the donut system, you'll set up a trade through that using their website. So the way that donuts work is that you create conditions, you put your NFT into that condition, and then people can put that liquidity in to swap it out so they can get the NFT and you get the liquidity in return. That's what I would imagine it being. But they updated the white paper, which I looked through recently and I noticed. Let me find it. Give me a sec.
I think
while Taibo looks for that, I'm assuming that the Futureverse wallet is going to be tied into Centrapay or Centrapass or whatever that outlet to ramp fiat and end users in, where they want, to bring people in for fluffs or whatever FIFA connection. Flufflets. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I think there's going to be a way for no coiners to buy their first fluff.
Yeah,
with cash.
Immersive also has a deal with MasterCard where you can, I'm guessing that you can also buy assets with credit card.
Yeah, so immersive is the one that's going to help bridge fiat to the root network easily. That's what immersive is for. I'm not sure what Centropay was meant to be as well, because it's also part of the ecosystem.
Yeah, it's something with spending cash in the crypto, I believe. I don't want to speak for their team because I'm definitely not have full due diligence. I do want to add though, I share the same concerns as Marklar, and like specifically if another like a cool cat, my pet hooligan holder is like, I want to get a FLUF. Is he going to have a hard time? Are we still going to be able to be on OpenSea without any issues, or like, you know, people going to have to buy root and then get our wallet? Like, you know what I mean?
So the answer is
I'm
like,
assuming
for sure you can sell Futureverse assets on Ethereum and you can bridge them back and forth. The question is that going... I think it is pretty logical to expect that for the next while, and I don't know how to define while, but at least several months, that will be the main way that Futureverse assets continue to be sold. We're not going to transition that soon into like selling things on the root network in mass to people that aren't already in the ecosystem. But how will it play off in the long term?
I'm guessing there's going to be like root energy or some kind of gamified, unique way of staking, knowing this team, they're going to do something fun and innovative to reward you for staking. And the people who are casually listing on OpenSea won't be listed anymore, which hopefully will be good. And I'm sure there's going to be arbitrage too. If things are listed for sale on root and then root dips, people are going to buy the stuff listed on the root network, and vice versa. So, which will be fun for people who like to arb.
So I found the part in the white paper. I'll just quickly read it. So the root network NFT runtime provides a single unified network-wide experience for NFTs. In other networks, NFTs exist at the individual contract layer. In the root network, NFTs exist in a core network runtime. This provides a common standard to build interoperability. A uniform approach to minting, royalties, and structuring, especially in the metadata and content formats, is essential for delivering the asset interoperability people imagine at the application layer. The NFT runtime also has unique features like a network-wide royalty enforcement, native multi-wallet split and tiered royalties for creators, native NFT to NFT swaps, native static and cold minting options, build NFT dApps without needing to develop or deploy smart contracts. Fees from the NFT runtime are distributed to the network stakers and validators. The root network will also integrate the XRP XLS20 NFT standard as a runtime, enabling compatibility for the XRPL NFT ecosystem and infrastructure. So that I don't remember reading earlier, but it's
I would
there.
say in summary, what we can expect from the root network when it's like fully a go is quite different than we would get from any of the currently popular NFT blockchains. For example, Ethereum, Solana, Polygon, Arbitrum, Cardano. It's going to be very different in terms of user experience and in terms of the technology behind it. And I imagine, given that, really none of us really get it yet. Like Tybo is one of the most knowledgeable community members in this area. And even then, still learning things about how this network, about how the white paper is changing, how the network's going to operate. I don't think it's even set in stone fully. There are a lot of things that are decided, but I think as they implement this over months, things will change because they'll see, this isn't working, this is working, this is better than this. Let's spend some time and effort to change X, Y, and Z. You know, all kinds of iterations and security checks and all kinds of things that go along with, you know, setting up something of this magnitude. So I expect it to be a very long process and a continuous fight to make the user experience as good as it can possibly be. Let's hear from IFKA.
Hey guys, I just had a quick question for you big brains. I know I've heard it before, but could you guys speak a little bit on when they are talking about chain agnostic and I think it's EVM compatible in regards to root network?
Tybo, did you want to take it?
Yeah. So the root network at its core is a substrate-based network, and that comes from what you may have heard of as the Polkadot ecosystem. So Polkadot decided to do something different from Ethereum, where Ethereum runs the security and the smart contracts all on the same platform. What Polkadot decided to do was split that up, where Polkadot just focuses on security, and then people build meta chain apps. So imagine their own substrate-based blockchain. Instead of it just being a simple smart contract, it's almost like its own micro blockchain catered to the use cases of you know, say it's a smart contract and it has a specific use case. Basically, Substrate allows a lot of composability and unique functions that you couldn't normally do on Ethereum because of the nature of Ethereum being a security. It's always verifying blocks, but it also runs smart contracts, where Polkadot separates them, and then it allows more composability and different functionalities to take place, but it still allows those different apps that get built, those different substrate-based blockchain apps to get built and still have interoperability between the different applications through the Polkadot network. So the root network is trying to do a hybrid of what Polkadot is trying to achieve by having its own basic substrate-based chain inside its security. So it's like almost like Ethereum and Polkadot at the same time, where it can also plug. So any substrate-based chain that's designed for Polkadot can also plug into the root network. And what that basically means, it's chain agnostic, where it's open to many different blockchain infrastructure compatibilities. So XRPL is a ledger that is also compatible with the root network. So it's able to plug in and bridge and work on the network. So the root network is like a combination of like many different ecosystems by being at its core Substrate, which allows it to be a hybrid, because with Substrate it just allows more options and unique use cases that Ethereum just can't do. But the other benefit of the root network is it is also EVM compatible. So EVM stands for Ethereum Virtual Machine. So imagine the root network is a network. It's a bunch of servers. It's running its own operating system. And say you have a Mac computer, but you want to install Windows on it, but it's also a Mac computer. You can install Windows onto that hardware. So the root network essentially has installed the Ethereum virtual machine onto its network. So all the smart contracts that are created on Ethereum can also be compatible with the root network. So it's just like another operating system that allows the root network to have access to all the functionality that Ethereum natively has.
Yeah,
Awesome.
EVM compatible, I think, is a big piece of it, and the substrate aspect of it as well will really allow us to unlock a lot of new capabilities. But yeah, I mean, people were kind of asking in chat about, let's say you're trying to buy a FLUF on the root network. when that time comes, like let's say the marketplace is live and everything, and asking like what you buy it in. I believe you'd be able to buy it in ETH, but like bridged ETH, right? So it'd be like root ETH, I suppose. But just wanted to throw that out there.
It can be whatever you want. It's BYO.
I can take the final settlement bit if you like. So with the XRPL, generally anyone who's building a chain that's bridging to it, that comes under an amendment called the Hooks Amendment, and that chain is generally a federated sidechain, which means it's a private chain that has access to the main ledger. So if a bank wants to keep its transactions private, it can do so as a federated sidechain, but then can still access the ledger for the transfer. But with the root network, it's deeply integrated into the XRPL, which simply means for massively deep liquidity, super fast settlement, and super cheap settlement, you can pay in any currency you want, and you won't even know that behind the scenes it'll be settling for a fraction of a cent in XRP. So it doesn't matter how you want to pay. On the root network, pay with anything in your wallet, and behind the scenes it will settle instantly for a fraction of a cent in XRP, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does.
So there was a new automatic market maker that the CTO of XRP recently announced in the last year or so. And essentially what that does is it allows XRP to become not just a deck. It has a traditional DEX on it, but it also allows it to take on the functionality of an automatic market maker. So imagine the root network will be connected to this deep liquidity in the back end with a bunch of pools. So you could say there's an XRP Asto pool, an XRP ETH pool, an XRP root token pool, and they will. I think there will definitely be the possibility for us users to provide liquidity as well, and add to make it even deeper, so we can also participate in providing liquidity to the root network. But I assume there's going to be a set amount set up when we bridge over. And there'll be like a core number of coins to choose from early on, and that group of coins will grow over time. So initially, the whole BYO thing will be limited to maybe 4 or 5 coins: Ethereum, Asto, Root, XRP, and you'll be able to use any of those 4. Say that the FLUF is worth 4 ETH, but if you have 4 ETH worth of XRP, then you could just pay an XRP, and it will all be done in the back end.
Well, there's certainly a lot of information that is going to need to be not only disseminated, but like really explained through a series of different types of, like forms of explaining, I would say. And because the team hasn't really done that yet, I imagine we're still pretty far away from being able to do it, because I don't imagine that they would just roll it out without explaining to everyone a lot more of what we could expect and what's going to happen and how it works, etc. So I think over the next series of months, we'll continue to learn more about it. If they had a lot more to tell us, I think we will have AMAs and other forms of content. So we'll have plenty of time to digest all the information and learn more.
I do agree, like to a point for us power users, but I think the whole goal is to make it so easy and seamless that we just go, okay, I just need any amount of liquidity to buy this asset, and it will be pretty seamless and straightforward for most users. They don't have to necessarily understand how it all works deeply for it to be easy to use. That's my assumption, and I think that's the goals of the team
That's
as well.
definitely the goal. My point is more people, the team will have to explain overall to whoever is listening about the finer details well in advance, in my opinion, of when things actually happen. So, I mean, people might disagree with that. People have disagreed with me about my, overall sentiment that things are going to take a long time. But, that is continuing to be my sentiment, that this will not be a quick process. This will be a very much an ongoing step-by-step process. And it's exciting that as a community, we're going to have the opportunity to be involved in this, because it's really on the breaking edge of technology and potentially even a culture shift. So I'm very excited for it. That being said, we are at 90 minutes from the show. So does anyone have some closing thoughts before we call it a night?
I'll just add one. I'm seeing a lot of very high-profile content creators from other communities start to begin their journey into the Futureverse, and the majority of these creators are at a deep dive protocol layer. They're really interested in their power users, as we were saying before. So I think it will be important to get these new community content creators up to speed with the benefits of what's happening behind the scenes, because we want them to have the correct information right from the get-go. That's just all I have to add.
I want to jump in on the agnostic question just real quick. Substrate, EVM, like those are all buzzwords, but basically it just means like developers can pick the language and security profile that they want to develop in. And the way that Root is set up is they can also give their users the experience they want to give them, from totally hands-off, custodied with the vault, to the experience that we know now with our hot and cold wallets and that whole mess of things. So like Solidity as the EVM language, and I think Substrate's built on Rust, which in terms of like a worldwide talent pool, there's a lot more people that know how to build in Rust than Solidity. So just any different way you can think to scale, any different thing you can want to build on in terms of like what the market currently demands is there. I agree with you, Max, that it's going to take a long time, and that as beta testers of sorts who will be getting rewarded handsomely in Root, I presume, will no doubt have a lot of headaches over the next year, but working towards that end goal.
Yep. It's just that I like to do my part as someone that has a small audience to emphasize that this is not an NFT that is kind of like likely to be a get rich quick scheme. It's the team, at least behind this NFT, has a strong desire to have a major impact in the world, and the thought process that they've shown time and time again is to focus on the big picture, to do everything they do on a large scale, done properly and correctly, securely, and with a desire to make a major impact. And that requires a lot of staff, a lot of systems, and even though that they have been working on several of the different systems for a long time, bringing everything together and then iterating on it and securing it is just a very, very cumbersome and daunting process that, to my knowledge, no one else is really trying something at this scale, or at least very few are trying something at this scale. So it's just, I really hope people listen to me when I say, don't think this will happen overnight, and buckle in for a long process of iteration and continuous steps towards getting to the point of creating technology and use of that technology that really can disrupt the way that the internet works and the way that culture works. It's a very big scale, huge vision, and nothing like that, tends to happen overnight. And this surely will not. I just can't see a scenario where things don't take years to reach the types of goals that they have, communicated that they're trying to get to. So I hope everyone's buckled in.
Yeah, for like the end all be all vision for sure. But I mean, in the meantime, there's going to be plenty of activations and actual products delivered between now and then that get iterated upon and get delivered, and people have cool experiences with and enjoy until we kind of really hit full vision, if that kind of makes sense. But yeah, definitely think it's important to keep in mind that this is a long-term thing, but that there's some cool stuff coming as well. Good stuff to happen in the meantime.
Yeah, which is why it's important to have lots of smaller teams working on a variety of items, some with more long-term plans and some with medium-term plans and some with plans that can be delivered and executed quickly. So on that note, I think let's call it a night. Thanks to everyone that participated. Thanks to everyone that listened or is listening on replay. The replay will be available as soon as this Spaces ends on my Twitter account. Also, big thanks to Dylan for coming to speak to us about the animation, the trailer, the buzzies, and all the other topics that he discussed. Big thanks to Pufferfish for today's top 5. And thank you again to everyone. And we'll try to come back next week with another good show, and in future weeks with lots of good guests and other content. So thanks everyone for joining, and see you next time.
I'll play us out. Bunnies up.
Thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed this content, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and maybe consider watching one of my other videos. Bunnies up!